Hey guys, Snoozy here, and today we're going to be going over the Diablo 4 Nightmare Dungeons. We're going to quickly cover as many questions as we can about them, such as what are they, how do I do them, when can I do them, what are the rewards, and a lot of these other basic questions that you may be asking if you're not familiar with the content. But before we get into all of this, I really wanted to point out that I'm creating a Discord channel for the community here. So if you like the videos, you want to talk with me, you want to discuss changes, you want to find people to kill demons with, go ahead. You can find the description to the Discord in the comments section. But we're going to go straight into that so you guys can see what Nightmare Dungeons are. The first thing you need to know about Nightmare Dungeons is you have to complete the main campaign, and you're going to have to complete all of that, all of the acts 1, 2, 6, and then what you're going to do is turn your world tier to world tier 2. You can do this at the world tier statue, or you could do it on the main menu. And once you do that, you're going to notice that inside of the chapel up in here, there's going to be a capstone dungeon. You'll complete that in World Tier 2. That'll unlock World Tier 3. You can change it right here at the statue or on the main menu like we discussed. Once you do that, you're going to notice that you're going to have some glyphs dropping for your Paragon tree, and hopefully you can find some of these sigils. These sigils are how you're going to open a nightmare dungeon, and all they really do is convert a normal dungeon into a nightmare dungeon for one run. It's important to note that the higher the tier, the more affixes are applied, and the monsters don't scale to your level, rather they're going to scale to the tier. Meaning, if you're going to be running a tier 100, those monsters are going to be above level 100. So if you're just unlocking this, you're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to start from the bottom and see where you can go up. The main reward of these is going to be giving you glyph experience. This is the main reason you want to do that. And the glyphs will be a part of your Paragon tree, and they'll socket in there. And the big thing with these glyphs is at level 15, the reach, which is these red circles, will increase. Meaning I can get some of these extra dex nodes out on the side that I couldn't before. So in my opinion, you really want to try to level these up to 15 at least. That way you can get some extra stats in there and get some extra damage. One of the other things here is if you're not getting the ones that you want to drop or they're too low, maybe this is another character and it's really strong, you can actually use the occultist to craft your sigils. You can even craft all the way up to tier 100 if you have the materials. To get some of these materials in quick order, you can go to salvage, and what you're going to do is find that when you don't want, I'm past tier 5, I don't want that anymore, now it's gone, and I got 2 sigil powder back to create higher tier sigils. Now let's go say I want to go back over here, and maybe my sigils are too high for me. Maybe I just want to relax and just kill some monsters and get a little bit of experience. So I can go ahead, click on tier 1 to 5 and press craft. Now notice that this requires tier 3 for your world. So I can't actually run this because I have this on world tier 4. What I could do is I could run up here to the statue and change it back to 3. But I'm not really interested in running one that low. So what we're going to do is we're going to end up running some that are a little bit higher here. I don't really know which one, maybe a 23. But we'll go ahead and end up running this. But one quick thing I wanted to show here is notice how this is a tier 3. Here's a 46, here's a 22, and the rest of these are generally in order. If you're trying to just sort these real quick by tiers, you can press this sort button here. And now the highest tier will be up here and the lowest will be down here. Really nice for getting all of that stuff situated. We're going to go ahead and do Black Asylum, and this is going to give us the green thorns. So we get increased thorns, and then all of those 4 mods under the green there are stuff that's going to happen. So monsters are going to deal more damage, more life, and the duration of vulnerable effects is reduced. So you're just going to go right click this. It's going to ask if you want to consume it, and you'll press accept. If you're in a party, it's going to go ahead and say Snoozy wants to run this, do you want to? And then everybody's got to agree, and then it'll take into effect. Once you've run it, you can press M, and here's the part that can get a little confusing. Sometimes it'll take your map directly where to the dungeon is. Other times you have to look up here, see that little icon? That's telling me that's where the dungeon is, so let's go and see. We're going to right click it to put a pin on there, and then we're going to have to travel the whole way there. That's one of the big issues I have with this is while it's an open world game, you want to get people out there, you want to see people traveling. I feel like you can lose a lot of experience trying to travel there. This is a relatively short one. I've had it where I had to get all the way to dungeons that had a really long run. For instance, maybe this dungeon here, that can take you quite a bit of time to get over there, or even from this one because you have to go all the way down and back up through. So you can lose some of the time doing this, but you kind of still have to do these to get that experience for your glyph. I'd really like to see maybe some more drop rate increases or density or something to help alleviate the time lost for traveling compared to just finding whatever meta dungeon people are running and running that over, like Champion's Demise. Once I remember where it is, right here. This one, I don't remember if it's been nerfed or not, but this for a while, everybody was just running in, completing it, reset, and running back in, and this was really fast experience and decent loot. So I'd like to see a little bit more for the rewards here. And we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video once we actually see what the rewards are. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and travel over there, and then we'll get right into it, and we'll go through everything you need to know once you're inside of the dungeon. Alright guys, we made it all the way to the dungeon here, and you can tell that we're in the dungeon because on the right it'll say Nightmare Dungeon, and this is going to be a tier 23 that I chose to do. Underneath that, you're going to see revives remaining 4. So one thing I've noticed with this, and I'm not quite sure if this is how this is supposed to work, but if I run this solo and I die and I press revive, that'll count down to 3. That makes sense. If I'm in a party of 2 and I die, and then let's say I'm playing with my dad and my dad resurrects me, that number doesn't go down. So I'm not sure if that's by design or not. What I do know is if I go down, my dad stands over my corpse laughing, calling me an idiot for dying, and I press resurrect because I don't want to wait, that number will go down. And that is important to note, that it's better to wait for somebody, at least at this point, to resurrect you so you don't lose those revives. And on top of that, if you're like me and you have a memory of a goldfish, I already don't remember what mods were on this dungeon, and I literally came from town, and this one actually wasn't that bad of a run. One thing I've found out recently was if you press tab on the keyboard, I don't know what it is for your controllers, but it's probably just whatever takes you to the map. You'll see on the left here that it's telling me what the mods are, and this can be a nice little refresher if you have a bad memory like me. Now, one thing to note with the Nightmare Dungeon, and I know I've talked about this a bit, is the monsters don't scale with my level anymore. They are just going to be what scales with the tier of the dungeon. See how these are level 77 and I'm a 79, so they're not really scaling. One thing here is this is really just going to be a normal dungeon run. You're just going to follow whatever it asks you to do, which in this instance is going to be to activate the gate with winches. So we're just going to run around. You can kill these if you want. I generally do. I don't usually do full clears for these unless that's the objective, just because it takes a little bit of time. But you can just continue on through and find your objectives. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this off the YouTube here, and that way we can just get straight to the end where the rewards are. So realistically, like I said, just clear this like a normal dungeon and try not to die with all the added challenges. So I will talk to you guys shortly once we get to the end here. Alrighty guys, we are back and we completed the dungeon. As you can see, we got our rewards down there, 92,000 experience and 4,200 coins. You are guaranteed, it seems, to get a legendary every time, and if you're lucky, you'll get a unique item. I really like that you're guaranteed the legendary and a chance at the unique. However, it just still feels a little weak for the amount of time that I have to make by dealing with these sigils, dealing with the harder monsters, the travel time. So it kind of feels like if you really want the loot and experience, you're better off just resetting some of these dungeons and just running them over and over on normal. Monsters are going to be easier, going to clear them faster, you're going to get more experience. So I just like to see a little bit of a bump in the rewards there. However, if you're leveling solo, this isn't a terrible way to level. It's actually how I've primarily been leveling. I haven't really been abusing the reset too much unless my friends and family are on, in which case we'll do that a little bit. But if most of my time is played solo and I'm doing stuff like this. So the big thing here is once you're done, you're going to see this bubble will spawn, and you're pretty much invincible when you're in this bubble from what I can tell. Hardcore players, still be careful. Bug, I don't know. Just please be careful with it. You do seem to be immortal in here, and the monsters seem to leave you alone. They'll just kind of run away or something like that. But the big thing here is the awakened glyph stone, and this is how you're going to actually level up your glyphs, and you'll select them from the list down here. At the top, you can see available to allocate 48 experience. That's what we got from doing this tier 23. I forgot what tier this was, but that's how much experience we got. And all we'll do is press the allocate EXP, and you saw the bar goes up. It just levels up, and we're almost to 15, which we really need for that radius increase. The one thing I want to notice is if I would have pressed allocate experience, and let's say I only needed 10 experience to level up, it would have used that 10 experience, but up here it'd still say available to allocate and it would have the remaining experience. So if you do level up, make sure you press that allocate experience button again, just to make sure that you're claiming it all, because if you leave, you lose that experience. And for me, this is one of the big reasons that I'm actually running this. So that is going to be your Nightmare Dungeons in a nutshell. And the one thing I want to note here is if I had another sigil for this exact same place, which I don't, you could just right click it and it'll tell you can't do that if you're in here. But if I right click one of these other ones that aren't in here, do I have one in? Yeah, it's tier 3. I don't care about it. I can't because I had to be world tier 3. But if you can click another sigil, and if it's not the exact same dungeon you're in, it'll just kick you out of the dungeon and start the next one for you. And then you will have to run there. So with all that said, I do like the Nightmare Dungeons. I like the fact that they're adding these mods on here with the sigils, kind of taking a book from what seems to be Path of Exile with their mapping system. I really enjoy that. And it's kind of neat that, you know, some of these will benefit you. I don't think I have my favorite. There's my favorite, magic find. You find more items from enemies. I kind of wish the magic find and the density was bumped up a little bit for these Nightmare Dungeons, because like some of them can be a bit sparse. Like this dungeon in general, I absolutely hate. There's not much density, which causes my build to slow down a lot because of spirit regeneration. The build really thrives when there's a bunch of enemies that I'm killing and getting spirit on kill. Higher chance for my procs to give me back spirit. So it would just be nice to have a little bit more density and some stuff to make up for the travel. But other than that, I really like this system and I think they did a really good job with it. Hopefully you guys learned something and you can maybe get some more of these Nightmare Dungeons done on your own. And like I said at the beginning of the video, if you're looking for people, go ahead and hop on our Discord. It's brand new, so there's not very many people. So we can get a nice little community going, hang out, chill, kill some demons, and have some fun. But other than that, there's nothing really left for the Nightmare Dungeons to go over at the moment. But this should get you into the Nightmare Dungeons, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Yeah, hit me up on the Discord and we'll talk later. See you guys. Bye.